Hello everybody and welcome to English for Palestine grade 11. Our lesson today is about giving suggestions. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to recognize the formal and the informal suggestions, give formal and informal suggestions. Let's start. Okay, what is a suggestion? A suggestion is a proposal, a piece of advice, or idea for consideration, and you are free to take this suggestion or to reject it. Okay, now what language structures do we use to give or for giving suggestions? Let's see here. Look at this picture. Here an old man and his wife are sitting and he is suggesting something for his wife. So let's look at his suggestion. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. Oh, she says, okay, it's a good idea. So she accepts or she takes the suggestion. Again, look at the structure. Let's plus the infinitive form of the verb. Okay? Good. This is number one. Let's look at another one here. Two old men walking, and one of them suggests, shall we have a rest? Look at the structure. Shall we have a rest? Shall plus subject plus infinitive form of the verb. And of course, he replied, are you tired already? So we have let's go in the previous one. Let's plus the infinitive form of the verb. And here we have shall plus subject plus the infinitive form of the verb. Okay, great. Let's look at this one. Why don't you join a walking club? Why don't you join a walking club? So here we use why don't plus subject plus the infinitive form of the verb. Of course, oh, I prefer walking alone. He rejects the suggestion. Great. Let's look at the fourth one. Why not try walking to stay healthy? Why not plus the infinitive form of the verb. And of course, he accepts the suggestion, yes, I might do that. So by this, we have four suggestions or four structures for giving suggestions. The first one, I remind you again, let's plus the infinitive form of the verb. Second one is shall plus subject plus infinitive form of the verb. The fourth one, why not, plus the infinitive form of the verb. Okay? Now, these four suggestions or structures, actually, they are informal. They are informal. You can give this suggestion or you can use this structure in giving suggestions for your friend or for your brother or your sister or your wife or your husband. Okay? So they are informal. But let's look at this type here. A doctor is sitting with a patient, maybe, right? I advise you to take more exercises. Look here, we use advise, the verb advise, plus subject, plus to infinitive. Again, advise, plus subject, plus to infinitive. I advise you to take more exercise. Okay, let's look to the next one. Here, a teacher is sitting with her student. I suggest or I recommend going for a walk. I suggest or recommend going for a walk. Suggest or recommend plus the ing form of the verb. Notice carefully. The third one, I suggest or I recommend you read this book. I suggest or recommend, the verb suggest or recommend plus subject plus the infinitive form of the verb. Now, these three structures are formal. They are formal structure for giving suggestions. Okay, now to summarize. Here we have four structures for informal suggestion. Please notice carefully. The first one is let's plus the infinitive form of the verb. Be careful about this. Let's is usually followed by the infinitive form of the verb. The second one is shall plus subject plus have or plus the infinitive form of the verb. And look here, it's in the form of a question mark. Third one, why don't you join? Why don't plus subject plus infinitive form of the verb, and be careful, it's also in the form of a question. And number four, why not try walking to stay healthy? Here we use why not plus the infinitive form of the verb. Be careful, all these suggestions are informal. Okay? Now let's move to the second part, formal suggestions. These are formal. Number one, I advise you to take more exercise. Here we use the verb advise plus subject plus to infinitive. Be careful, because advise, the verb advise is usually followed by to infinitive. Second one, I suggest or recommend, because suggest and recommend have the same meaning. Suggest or recommend followed directly by the ing form. I suggest going, I recommend going. And the third one, I suggest or recommend you read this book. So here, suggest and recommend followed by subject and then the infinitive form of the verb. Notice the difference between number 2 and number 3. Here, suggest or recommend followed directly by the ing form of the verb, but here they are followed by the subject and then the infinitive form of the verb. Okay? Now, I want you please to open your books, page 52, and please do this activity. Look at it. Here we have 5 sentences. They are written in a certain way, and you are going to rewrite them using one of the suggestions we have just explained. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. See you later, inshallah.